Serious Redditors who were once homeless. What is something most people don't know about being out in the streets? Serious replies only. In many places, you can actually get arrested just for being homeless. Then if you can't pay the fine or bail, you go to jail. And shelters, forget it. Women's shelters have some of the highest rates of abuse. They look for any reason to kick you out, even just talking back to an RA. Public nuisance for trying to sleep on the streets. Loitering because you have nowhere to go. Solicitation by a roadway for flying signs. Just can't win, man. That left a bitter taste in my mouth. It's as if it's illegal to be homeless. I spent a night in jail for loitering, allegedly. Never been homeless though. Couldn't talk my way out of it, was too dumbfounded to find out it's illegal to just sit on a bench and read a book. Okay, this sounds dumb, but not having a place to go, literally being homeless, sucks. More than sleeping under a bridge, being like, okay, I'm done being around people, so now I guess I have no ducking clue is a pretty dreary feeling. Also, having sex with people for a place to stay is really a thing. As someone on the autism spectrum, I think that I'd kill myself before ever becoming homeless. I'm not even joking. I hate people already, but being stuck out in public 24/7 with no home to get relief from them would be hell. Maybe I'd run into the woods and try to live picking berries. I'd rather starve to death than be around a zero until the two people all day. Thato's kind of a really depressing thing to say to all the people reading this struggling with homelessness. Thato Hedegularo, people might look at you and wonder how you can bear no killing yourself. A homeless life is life like any other. Good days, bad days, good and bad people, but the homeless community and traveling community are very non-judgmental and understanding and good people overall. Some of the best PPL ever. Use a backpack and fold your clothes into compact rolls. Always keep a bottle of water with you to stay hydrated. Keep your hygiene products on you and in a Ziploc bag. Certain places offer showers and meals around the day. There are certain things that you might have access to, things that can be sold or traded. It depends. I've only learned about this in one city and it helped when I was in need of something. I'm no longer homeless, nor did I succeed. Lol, but I learned a thing or two and I'm hoping to try some other time if under any circumstances I have to go with next to nothing, and most of all be careful. Lol, sounds like being in the army. Serious question. What prevents homeless people from joining the army? Do you need to have an education, submit a CV, etc.? You have to pass a test, and you can't be mentally or physically ill. Pretty much pass the ASVAB, be under 35, no mental illness or physical issues, and no crazy criminal history. Lot of charges can be waived. I had 2 waived. Some cities are going out of their way to eliminate places for you to sleep, like destroying bus stops and dividing benches into small sections so you can't lay down on them. Our bus stops now have these weird leaning bench things that are at like a 45-degree angle. Had not really figured this out as being the reason. New York City, Portland, Oregon actually, but I would not be surprised if they are popping up all over. I was homeless for almost a year after losing a job and couldn't get anything else. I got evicted twice, one from my own lease and the second from a lease I took over. I had to sell practically everything I owned just to have some money for food and gas. I also had nowhere to put it. I didn't get paid that much anyway, so I had nothing saved up. I was lucky enough to have a crappy car paid for, but that thing kept me safe. I had a comforter over the seats because I didn't have tinted windows and I curled up in the back. I got pretty good at living. I found a job, was saving up to get back on my feet, and got fired for not being as efficient as the boss's kid. I managed to find a job I kept for a while, but I was so far behind on bills and money that almost felt like it didn't matter. I was lucky that it was a restaurant job and I could take wasted food. People talk about you when they think you can't hear. They think you put yourself in that position. They think of you as a bum. I somehow found a girlfriend in the midst of all that, and guess who got dumped with the "it's not you" excuse after she found out. The thing is, I had my own place, a car, a management job, a good credit score and 0 debt. My store shut down and I had less than 4 days notice. No part of that was my fault. I wish I were able to had saved up some cash. My story would be a bit different. Thanks for reading. Thank you for sharing. Honestly, this is one of my biggest fears. If I lose my job and have no money set aside, what next? Your post is in the past tense, so I'm hoping things have improved for you. I wasn't homeless for long thankfully, but how your mindset totally changes. It's weird how your one goal becomes survive and you do things you normally would never do when it gets desperate. Just because someone's homeless doesn't mean they don't have a phone or anything that they can use to access social media. If it is okay for me to ask, how does a homeless person afford a phone and data to access social media? I am legitimately curious. I think if they already had a phone they could just go to a place that has free Wi-Fi. Most people nowadays have phones anyway. So if something were to happen you would have your phone with you no matter what. I am homeless with my children right now at a domestic violence shelter. I think one thing is how isolated you feel. You can't really connect to anyone anymore because of the constant stress and you are constantly fighting off the feelings of hopelessness. Another thing is how many amazing and generous people there are. When we had no food at the airport, the supervisor of our airline came out and gave us food vouchers so my kids could eat. When we had no transportation, a woman donated her used car to us. There are so many selfless and good people out there. I hope life gets better for you soon. Heart. Lots of people think that when you are sleeping rough you are choosing to not use a shelter or the aid available from the government. The reality is that often a local emergency shelter is full and the living situation that the government provides is more dangerous than the street. You will be put in houses sharing rooms with drug users, violent criminals and people with a varying range of mental disorders. My biggest thing was that I was so desperate for no one to know. I really didn't feel like I was truly homeless. I was very lucky when I ended up homeless. Long story involving asshole family. It was summer and I was working 3 jobs and had a vehicle. I hunted till I found a storage unit with a light inside. It was just a bare light bulb, but I went to Walmart and got an adapter that goes between the light bulb and the socket that gives it 2 electrical outlets, and the heavy-duty extension cord power strip. I put my stuff into a 15x10 and 110x10 storage units. I put everything I possibly could in the smaller unit, and in the 10x10 I set up a twin bed, TV, fridge, microwave and electric skillet, along with everything else that wouldn't fit in the smaller unit. I would only run one thing besides the fridge at a time, because I didn't want to blow the breaker and get found out or be without electric. Luckily it wasn't fenced like they all seem to be nowadays, so I would park my truck in across the street by the school and slip into my storage unit at night. Fix myself something to eat and watch what TV I could get on rabbit ears. I had a box fan that I used at night to help beat the heat, and would go to work early to be able to get a shower there. That was my life for 3 months. But since my kids were at their dad's for HT summer, I took all the 200 hours of the jobs. The other was a flat rate pay for 32 hours a month. I think I was paying $80 a month at the time for the 2 units, $30 for the 5x10 and $50 for the 10x10, besides gas and food, so I was able to save enough money for last month's rent and utility deposits and was in a house by the time my kids came back from their summer at their dad's. This was summer of 2008, in rural Oklahoma. We don't really have shelters or homeless communities. People will sometimes make tarp shelters on the state hunting grounds and such, and can be scary when you happen upon one of their camps. So I know this doesn't count as proper homeless because I still had my car, and I had the choice to return to my parents at any time. I grew up in that part of the South where my parents raised me in a way that I no longer could stand racist stuff, and I knew if I went back I'd probably go back to how I was before the Corps. Long story short, headquarters Marines ducked me and nickel and dimmed all of my savings like $3K away trying to get home from my Okinawa deployment. I lived out of my car, giving unofficial shooting lessons to compassionate people. I couldn't advertise cause I was only USMC certified, not NRA certified, similar to medics and corpsmen not being able to practice medicine due to difference in certificates. I had it better than most. I was able to find parking and slept in the relative warmth of my car, so when people found me they assumed I was drunk and not homeless, which in some places you get arrested for. There was another homeless guy that I trusted enough to let him sleep in my car. He got arrested one night because he looked homeless. I normally got away with it because I didn't look the part. I didn't know until I saw him a month later, and I gave him my new razor and splurged on some shaving cream for him. I didn't look homeless, so people treated me a lot better than they did them, and it honestly broke my heart. Being in the Marines really prepared me for it though, going a long time without food, old survival tricks like how to light fires with nothing, clothes rolls where you have an entire outfit sans shoes in a single entity, you can sleep anywhere, bit and piss in creative ways and uses for said bit and piss. Also in situations where running from the police was necessary for existing in the wrong spot, I could easily escape from them, and if they caught me, unless there was a bunch of them, the motivated map gave me some self-defense against their body manipulation, and my knowledge of Rosen use of force allowed me to defend my group legally from the more aggressive ones. I would report them in detail and in their jargon for them to understand that while the law is the law, and I get that, I wouldn't stand for aggressive policing. I eventually become known in my area's homeless community. I kept my cash after I got out, so people would save money, give it to me, and I'd go to the nearby base commissary and buy cheap food in bulk and bring it back. Edit, Victor 117 reminded me about field showers. I don't know how I forgot about field showers.